Drawing a handgun from a holster and establishing a proper grip from the get-go is one of the most important skills to have in competitive shooting, as well as the defensive mindset shooter also. So the first thing I like to teach when talking about draws and grip is consistency. We want our gear, our gun, our firearms, our mag carries to be in the same spot every single time that we put on the belt, so that we can have consistency, so we're not like guessing every time we go for the gun. Is it in a little bit forward? Is it a little bit back? It's in the same spot. And so we can build efficiency with that, as well as we can cut down some of the time wasted in trying to figure out where it's at. So consistency in putting the gear where it is, as well as in competitive shooting, definitely we like to have touch points, meaning I know where the gun is just by a little bit of touch points I have on my arms or forearms or however that is. Personally, I like to have the mag touch my forearm as well as my middle finger touch the bottom of my holster. That means I know exactly where my hand is in relation to the gun. Okay, so that's the first thing. As well as whenever we go to draw, we want both hands moving at the same time. I see a lot of times people draw, they'll draw with their right hand, and then the support hand is playing catch up, and it's never going to be as fast if you're only moving your support hand after the gun has left the holster. So off the draw, on the beep or initiation or whatever it is, we want both hands moving towards the gun at the same time. Gun comes out, just like that. Both hands are moving. With that too, our initial purchase on the gun is going to be the index finger, or the middle finger, knuckle, and the web of our thumb. We want to drive it into the back strap of the gun, and underneath the trigger guard, we want a high grip on the pistol as much as we possibly can, okay, to eliminate some of that muzzle flip. So good grip out of the holster. We don't want to have a different grip every time we come out of the holster. We want the same grip, as well as we don't want to have our drawing grip and then have to change it. And what I mean by that is when you're shooting a pistol, that's the grip that you want to establish out of the holster, okay? A lot of people you'll see, they'll like just try to rip it out of the holster and they'll have a crap grip and then they'll fix it. We want a good grip out of the holster, and that's going to build consistency, efficiency, speed, as well as accuracy, and all sorts of things, because everything you do with this pistol gets funneled through your hands, okay? So if you do not have a proper grip with the pistol, everything else is going to be harder to accomplish. So proper grip, one of the most important fundamental keys of shooting a pistol. So both hands come up, good touch point coming out. We want the support hand to get on the gun as soon as possible after the holster, okay? Gun comes out, we're going to slam it up underneath the trigger guard. That's kind of a touch point, you know, we can kind of conceptualize that. Then we're going to try to roll that support hand into the grip of the pistol. Now, whether you want like a really, really high thumbs forward grip or a more laid back, that's kind of just preference on it, as well as what fits your gun in your hands. I personally kind of like a little bit more of a thumbs forward. What we try to do with that is we try to lock out our wrist as well as fill the space on the pistol. Accomplishing both of those are going to eliminate a little bit of the muzzle flip as well as the recoil control, and a consistent hand placement and hand pressure is going to help with having the dot or the irons track in a returnable fashion, and so that we can have a little bit more of a predictive shooting, as well as even in reactive shooting, that dot comes back faster and we know where it's going to come back down. So that helps tremendously. So both hands come out of the holster, touch, pull out, and present out. With the presentation of putting the gun to full extension, a lot of people try to slam it to the end of the wall almost, and you'll have a lot of muzzle shake when you get there, okay? That is the only part of the draw, that last little bit, that we want actually to slow down. Everything else we want to do as fast as humanly possible. But that last little bit, we want to kind of ease the brakes into it so we pick up the dot sooner, as well as the dot is not bouncing around all over the glass. It's just nice and crisp at the very, very tail end, and we can break that shot a little bit sooner instead of getting to the very, very end, trying to find the dot, and then breaking the shot. We're almost going to break the shot as soon as we get to full presentation because the dot's already going to be there because that last little bit is smooth. Pressures with our hand, what we're going to try to accomplish is we're trying to crush the gun with our support hand, okay? That is driving the majority of the recoil control aspect is our support hand. Our strong hand has to do two jobs. It has to control the gun and also has to activate the trigger. Now, those kind of contradict each other, and what I mean by that is if you try to overly exert pressure on the grip of the firearm, you're not going to be able to pull your trigger finger efficiently and you're going to have trigger freeze or sloppy presentations and so on and so forth. So the main job of the support hand or the firing hand is to pull the trigger. Recoil control of this hand is secondary. So a way to help with that is actually to loosen up a little bit of the pressure. Lots of people over grip with this hand and don't grip enough with this hand. And so it's kind of weird, but it's actually the opposite. You want to over grip with this hand as much as possible and actually be a little bit loose with this hand. A common side effect of an over grip with this hand is going to be trigger freeze, even low shots possibly sometimes. So if you see those things, or if you see like your wrist flexing a lot, just try to play with it, try to back off a little bit of the pressure, and just see what that does, as well as always over grip with the pistol, or with your support hand, as well as mainly with the meat of your hand and your 3 fingers. You can put a little bit of thumb pressure on that. Be careful of that. Some people say no thumb pressure. Some people say some thumb pressure. I think it's a personal preference issue, but if you exert pressure with your thumb on the frame of the pistol, you're going to see your dot and your recoil pattern kind of veer to the right. So just be wary of that, as well as I don't believe you can, unless you just have like a monster thumbs and you're exerting so much force, your potential to, I don't know, get into the slide and cause a little bit of a slowness of that. I've never seen that happen, but I guess physics says that possibly could happen. But just be wary of that. Your strong hand thumb isn't really going to do much. It's kind of floating. You can kind of push it to the back of your hand. Don't try to squeeze too much with it, because I find that kind of leads to overtension. I kind of like to only squeeze with the meat of my hand as well as my 3 fingers, and not so much as the tips of my fingers. Kind of just the first little part, the first couple sections of my fingers, as well as the meat of my hand.